Good morning, happy Sunday. So I was sitting here doing a little Bible study, and you guys know that I mentioned on my TikTok I was talking about the promised land and giants and that kind of thing. So I was continuing my Bible study, but God was really speaking to me about a particular question that comes to mind that I had and that some of my clients have. Here goes my nose. You guys know how that is. But anyways, the question was, is God willing to heal my marriage after I had an affair? And this was something that I thought about also when I decided that I wanted to go home and, I wanted to work on my marriage and have all, just be restored, like reconnect with my husband, because I really did love him, but I didn't feel like I was worthy of him and to keep my family together. And I had, a lot of doubts about even if God would help me, because I did believe that God could do miracles. I believed that he could do anything. I just didn't know that he would after, I had had an affair and I had, hurt everybody and myself and all this stuff. So, God was reminding me of that today, and I thought that I would share with you guys some things that I learned, just in case you might be thinking, hey, I do want to restore my marriage and I don't feel worthy, or I don't feel like God is going to help me or bless me again, with my marriage being happy, that kind of thing. Because I will say that my husband and I, we have a great marriage. He's happy, I'm happy. We never thought we could get to this place in our marriage where we're just fulfilled and we're excited to be together. And not just that, though, even in arguments and, differences of opinions and things like that, we have learned how to work through those things so that, the arguments or the conflict doesn't, choke out the way we feel about each other. It doesn't affect the love that we have for each other. So we've learned how to do that, and I believe that God has shown us. But let me get into what he was talking to me about. So the thing is, it's not God who is not willing to heal our marriage. It is us who is not willing to let go of the pain. It is our hearts that are hard that prevents us from receiving our miracle. Now, let me say this before I get into it. I understand that not every marriage will be saved. I understand all of that. It takes two people to actually work and partner with God to restore your marriage, okay? So this word is for you. If God, if you're willing to work with him, that kind of thing. But it's the hardness of our hearts that really prevent us from receiving that miracle. So in Matthew 23:37, Jesus was actually talking about Jerusalem, but this, to me, illustrates how I was, or how it's possible for people to be after they have an affair. So the verse goes like this: "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones God's messengers. How often I wanted to gather your children as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings, but you would not let me." So this right here shows that God is willing. His heart is willing to help you and to protect you, but they wouldn't let him. The people in Jerusalem was actually rejecting the help that God was trying to give them. And we can do that. We can actually reject the help that God is trying to see us for many reasons. Some of it is we don't recognize it as help. Some of it is the guilt and shame that we have. We feel so condemned and so judged that we don't ever believe that God is willing to help us, and he still loves us, and he can make this better. But what I want you to pay attention to is I want you to pay attention to the glimpse of the heart of Jesus towards us. In this passage, we can see the real heart of God towards his people, how he's willing and we are not. Another thing I want you to understand, as someone who has maybe had an affair, you know that you're being misrepresented. You get a lot of labels, side chick, mistress, whore, all of those labels. You get that. But you know inside of your heart, that's not who you are. You may have never had an affair, or you may have found yourself having more affairs or multiple affairs, and you don't understand why. And you know in your heart this is not something you ever want to do, and you might feel like you cannot do it, you're trapped into doing it. Well, I want to tell you that God understands that too, because one of the things that prevents us from receiving from God is our perception of him. He's been terribly misrepresented throughout the ages. You know, he can, you know, people label him as he's angry, he's distant, he's judgmental, he's waiting to punish you, he's mad at you all the time. Everything you do wrong, he's just waiting to scold you for it. We can have a view of God through maybe how our parents raised us, and we see God the same way, or we heard a message about God and it was completely wrong about who he is. But God wants you to know that he gets you. He understands your heart, because in this passage, Jesus' heart was to help his people, but he was misrepresented. They rejected him for, you know, their reasons. But why we reject him is, you know, some of the things that I said. So he understands where you're at. He understands labels. He understands how hard it is to express what's in your heart, but people won't receive that from you. They won't believe that about you because they're too busy judging your behavior. So God is there with you. I want you to see that. I want you to get a glimpse of who he really is, and how he is willing, and how he understands about misrepresentation and being misunderstood. You know, I didn't feel like anybody understood me, because it's like I was saying things, but they were not hearing me. They were not understanding. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't really want to do it. Well, why did you do it? I don't know. Like, I really don't know, you know, and that is true. I work with many people on a daily basis, and they ask that same thing. So I want you to understand that God gets you, okay? He gets you, and you can receive a miracle from him because his heart towards you is willing. Now, you know, the second part is, you know, with God, we don't understand that we need him. And this is something that really spoke to me. I didn't understand that I really needed him, but we really need him. We really want him, but we reject the very thing that we're searching for. We're searching for validation, lasting validation, true validation. We're searching for real acceptance for who we are. We're searching for lasting love. Even when we mess up, are you still going to love me if I make a mistake? Are you still going to love me if I don't do everything right? That's what we're looking for. But God is the only one that can give us that. If you'd like more, you know, more story on that, you know, how we can receive from him, the best story is to go read The Woman at the Well, because that is a beautiful picture of Jesus talking about our needs and how he can provide them and how they're lasting, and we don't have to continue to go and look to other people to get our needs met. Because what's happening is we are looking at empty wells and asking them to fill us. Because people are people, they need validation, they have needs too. And as long as we keep going to them, we're going to keep running dry, because they don't have enough to give us. And they won't always be able to give us what we need. They will drop the ball. So God will never drop the ball. In the presence of the Lord is fulfillment and the fullness of joy. And I learned that spending time with God was more fulfilling than anything I had ever tried to search for in my whole entire life. More fulfilling than the affair. There was no anxiety in the presence of God. There was anxiety in the affair because I didn't know if he was going to stay, if he was going to go, and my attachment style was anxious, and it was all that. In God, there's none of that. There is true love, there's acceptance, there's peace, there's joy, and that's why we need him. That's why we need to change how we see him and look to him to provide our needs. Look to him and say, Lord, will you save my marriage? Thank you for being willing. Okay, that's what I want to share with you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time.